Is Chris coming?
Yeah, I don't know about that either.
Yeah.
I didn't double it, so I'm not sure that worked out as well as I wanted it to. But I think so, that makes me happy. Bill? It's like getting ready for California week. Oh, that's right. Southern. With all the rain.
We're gonna give it 2 minutes, wait, and see if Chris shows up. Could be then.
If it's not all.
That was, we were there Tuesday.
It's him.
There must be sightings.
Crossing sites. People running off the boats and running across.
Hey, Chris.
I have a business thing for the first half of next week, and then I'm starting business. We're going for the whole week.
Yeah.
Right, business Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Okay, call the meeting of the Fire and Police Committee to order. Roll call, please.
Bill James,
Here.
Fred Mogle,
Here.
Ron Stanko,
Here.
Fred Levering,
Here.
and Steve Broder.
Here.
Hey. Are there any public comments?
Not for me. Taking a break.
Okay, moving on.
I'm on vacation.
So move on quick. We'll go to the fire department. Colin.
Good afternoon. For the month of February to date, there have been 125 responses consisting of 14 fires, 29 motor vehicle accidents, 31 QRS medical, 12 hazardous conditions, 37 alarm activations, 1 smoke detector install, and 1 fire police call. Total responses in the borough 77, Spring Township 26, outside of the borough 22, overlapping calls of 48. Fire damage for the month of February, $750. Saved property, $5,430. That was for a vehicle fire. Average turnout per incident, 4.8. We had 18 volunteer responses for the month so far, and to date, 261. For the expanded January report, there was 268 responses system-wide, out of which Wyomissing responded to 136. We gave aid 49 times, we received aid 42 times. We had 79 overlapping calls consisting of 29 between Spring and Wyomissing, 10 with just Wyomissing, and 40 with Spring. Our average dispatch to en route time was 1 minute 56 seconds, dispatch to on scene 7 minutes 7 seconds, and our average on scene time was 16 minutes and 9 seconds. Busiest day of the week was Wednesday with 53 responses. Busiest hour of the day was 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. with 22 responses, and there was 1 Narcan administration in Spring Township. We gave aid to Birdsboro 1, Laureldale 3, Western Berks Fire Department 19, Fern Township Greenfields 4, West Reading 9, Muhlenberg 3, Shillington 1, Cumberland 6, the City of Reading 3. So I have that, those reports. If there's no questions, I'll move on. For the 2023 year-end report, you just had that. I don't want to waste anybody's time. If there's any questions, the key highlights, just total responses system-wide were 3,255. Out of those, Wyomissing responded to 1,867 calls for the year of 2023. Just going over the amount of hours that we had for incidents and training is broken down between the career and volunteer, fire safety inspections, and the income that was generated from that, the investigations and the public service events. And then the key thing would be the ISO rating, which would take effect. That was brought up at the meeting earlier in the month. March 1st, 2024 will drop from a 4 to a 3. That's all I have for reports. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions on the reports? Okay, moving on, just to update, Colin has been in contact with 3 fire chiefs that will be doing the initial interviewing of 6 candidates? 7 candidates, and that starts tomorrow.
The first interview was actually Friday virtual.
That's right, I forgot about that.
The remainder are tomorrow and Wednesday.
So that, that's, the wheels are turning on that, well in progress, so.
Are you allowed to tell us who the mystery guests are doing the interviewing?
I guess, I don't know, it would be, Chief Stout from Reading, Chief Bean from Cumru, and, Commissioner Renshaw from Western Borough.
Yeah. I especially was very impressed with the commissioner. I was on his webinar that he did 2 weeks ago, and I wish he was interviewing for the position, because he knows his stuff and he checks all the boxes many times over, so that was a good webinar, and I look forward to hearing him more. Okay.
Is there any anticipated change in that ISO rating when we go our own way?
That's a good question. Statistically, they do every 3 years evaluation, so with us just being completed, it should be 3 years till we get re-evaluated, so hopefully that gives everybody time to have things, you know, ducks in a row, because there's a lot of things that attribute to the ISO rating, from apparatus to staffing to response times to trainings to personnel responding to the calls, hydrants, there's 911 dispatching center and stuff like that. So the big thing I think that we jumped up was because of how we're tracking our training. I think that had a lot to do with it, because we were doing the training, but we weren't necessarily tracking it the way ISO wanted to show the hours and stuff like that. The potential hit down here could be personnel, because there's really no other volunteers down here to supplement the career staff, so basically what you have is what you have. Right now, everything was kind of pulled together because of the intergovernmental agreement. So, I mean, the potential is there in 3 years from now.
Thank you.
So, yeah, there's gonna be some, we got 3 years to,
And the savings for that is, tell them,
Well, I don't know, I mean, that's how they calculate the basis, but that dictates your insurance premiums ultimately, is what that dictates your rates. So that should lower the
that's a
rate.
pretty good number.
Yeah, I mean, 3 is pretty good. I mean, we've been 4 ever since I started here. Both stations have been 4 since 2007. So to drop up to 3, I mean, I was working at that kind of diligently prior to this last evaluation, because I knew we were doing the things that we needed to do, but we weren't necessarily, it's, you know, how you code things in the records management system and how you can generate the report. If crap goes in, crap comes out. So it's all on how you're entering the stuff. If you're putting in good data, you're able to bring that out.
Do we know what the rating is for surrounding communities?
I do not know. I believe West Reading was a 4, but they were just recently evaluated too, so I don't know if they dropped down.
I think they were a 5 before.
Oh, were they a 5?
I think
Okay.
so.
I do not know off the top of my head. You can probably Google that or search that through the ISO's website. It might tell you break things down, but I don't know off the top of my head now. I think the city of Reading's a 3. I think.
there's a handful of ones in Pennsylvania, maybe 5.
Yeah, most of them are bigger. I mean, well, realistically, nationwide, most of them are bigger cities like Los Angeles City and stuff like that. Champaign, Illinois is one of them.
Roeville's a one.
Is it? Are they?
It shocked me when I saw it. So, okay, needless to say that when we do hire this chief, he's got a lot to deal with, right from the get-go. And I'm hoping, that whoever this individual is, we'll work with Colin that we can, continue the mutual aid, with Spring, and training, I think is a big part of it, because if you're gonna run calls together, you gotta train together. And, but as I had on the agenda here, we need to discuss the Spring Township. We can't fall back in our fire inspection program. And right now, we do not have, we in Wyomissing, anybody that's certified as a fire inspector. I know Kraft, what's his name?
Municipal group,
Glenn Kraft, I guess he just got certified as a fire inspector. Have you been able to talk to him, and what his thoughts are on this?
Not yet, no.
Okay,
And to clarify, actually, all of our career firefighters are certified, it's
correct.
the timing issue of them being on shift and
that
having
is,
to leave.
that is correct, they can't, they can't go out and do a full inspection and then leave in the middle, to go run a call, because the business owners don't like that very much. So, but I would like to get this committee's feeling on having Michelle send a letter to Spring requesting what they would charge us to continue fire inspection services with Troy Hack, their fire marshal, and for the near future, and just have it, we have it broken down now with the chief and the fire marshal, and just what it would cost the borough to use him for fire marshal duties.
I have a couple questions. Is there any relationship between your ISO rating and your fire inspection process?
Yes,
Okay,
that and community outreach.
all right, good answer. Number two, how many locations do we have in the borough of Wyomissing that are required to be inspected on an annual basis?
Per the letter of the code, every commercial occupancy is supposed to be inspected yearly. And that lies the problem, that even with 2 full-timers and a part-timer, we're having an issue. Since we have the second full-timer on board up there, we've really done very well, I think, because we did total fire safety inspections. I mean, that's everything with corrective actions and all that kind of stuff. It was 1,839. There was 871 in Spring Township and 968 in Wyomissing Borough that were completed. But above and beyond all that is we're coming back to, timing, and everything obviously hinges on staffing. So there's a lot of projected development in both municipalities that are going to take substantial amount of plans reviewing and stuff like that, as well as just the inspections as well.
Right, so can we go back to the beginning? How many locations are there? in
I don't know off the
Wyomissing?
top of my head how many commercial properties are.
It's every commercial property.
Well,
Yeah.
That's a
makes
lot.
sense. It's a lot. Well, I'm just trying to figure out, there are 1,000? There must
I
be
would,
close to 1,000.
I would, yeah, probably a little bit more, because like the mall, so how many people are in the mall, or like other office buildings, it's one building, but there may be 4 or 5 tenants in there, they would all constitute their own separate inspections.
So why would we, so how much does it cost for the individual tenant to pay for the inspection?
It's based off of the square footage, and that fee is equivalent, it's the same at both places.
So is there, if you had someone working full-time in the borough of Wyomissing, would that person be paid for by the number of locations he was able to inspect on an annual basis?
Well, looking off of the statistics for last year or so, out of 968 inspections, they processed $58,450. So if there was an inspector just assigned to Wyomissing Borough full-time, I mean, that may be a little bit higher, but realistically, for a full-time employee, you'd probably be looking at about 110 to 120,000 with benefits and everything like that. But that position could almost, 3/4 of the way pay for itself.
So how much of the salary is related to the development process and the inspection
that doesn't get,
aspect.
that don't get,
No
right.
money.
Yeah, we don't bill for reading that. Ultimately, the third party is, they're doing that, but we're looking for other stuff that's like, that they may not be looking at. So we're looking for access, we're looking for locations of the FDC, making sure the sprinkler systems are in place, making sure the standpipes and it's compliant to codes. Because the code's one thing, but how we operate and that we have access to the building is what we look at when we look at, we're not recalculating the sprinkler calculations or anything like that. But that involves sending letters to the planning commission, zoning hearing board or whatever, that these are our recommendations after reviewing those plans from the fire perspective.
So it sounds like with what the spring folks were doing, we don't have anyone doing the inspections, so there are two people over there, so one and a half or whatever.
Yeah, 'cause we have-
So when this, what we call separation or divorce takes place, we're obviously gonna be, still growing, and so are they, because obviously
Right.
half of the reason why they're splitting up is because they got too much work to do and they can't do it. So what we're left with, it seems like we're gonna have to hire somebody, somebody's gonna have to hire somebody else to help do
I
what they
would
do.
think so, to get everything correct.
Right, so if we can improve our ISO rating, and we can have somebody in-house over here where we will live, and that person is doing fire inspections, sounds like that person's gonna be pretty smart when it comes to going on fire calls in Wyomissing, as well as the development process, that would be.
They won't necessarily have time to run the calls.
No, I
because
understand, but clearly that's information he has, if he happens to bump into somebody on the way out and you tell him where they're going, you can tell him something else that might be of help with. But if you have inspections going on and you have the construction going on, it would seem to me that would make the most sense to hire somebody here and bring them on board and have them be our guy, because we're not gonna be able to use spring anymore, we can't borrow them anymore, it's gonna be done and over with, so we gotta have more hands on deck here to do our job.
And the shame of it is,
Ron, that's up and down the road.
that's
I
a
mean,
hard position to fill.
You're looking at interim, I think, until the chief.
Yeah, I'm looking until this, I mean, we used to have a guy, we had Bob Freeze
You
here
know, I know.
for years.
Well, we're gonna have a new chief, and we're gonna need
And let the
somebody
chief
to
get
go.
situated, and then he can start coming to council and saying, you know, I want a fire inspector, I wanna advertise for one, and let him do that. Same thing as he's gonna have to do with the deputy chief. His first and foremost thing is he needs to find a deputy chief to help him. Then after that's done, then he can start working on a fire inspector. But these are the steps they have to do. We can't stop our fire inspection program.
I understand, but it
So-
seems to me
so,
that
um,
you're going to be trying to do what we were doing all the time while we're moving forward, because you have to go back to spring and say, by the way, we're leaving each other now, but we still need you to help us do everything we were doing before, and that's another project.
That's why I'm asking for this committee to give Michelle permission to send a letter requesting how much it would cost.
And address the willingness to do it first.
Yeah, and if so, you know, what they would charge us on a monthly basis.
I have no problem
Yeah, you might wanna say
for a limited period of time.
Yeah, for
so they don't think there's something.
unspecified period,
Yes.
Would that,
until we find somebody.
Chris, would the intergovernmental cooperation agreement have to be amended to reflect that?
The agreement is being terminated by Spring Township's action. So when that termination goes into effect, there's nothing on this or anything else. So yes, if we want to continue the fire inspections, we'll have to create an agreement on that subject.
Was that part of the agreement originally?
Yes.
So maybe we could terminate it but for that.
Well, that would have to be negotiated. But, you know, the termination is being unilaterally initiated by Spring.
Understood.
We have no termination date. It is, or they had said the end of June, or was it June 1? June 30th. But they also said if we need Colin further, you know, past that time, you know, to help teach, you know, an incoming chief, then so be it. But, you know, I mean, everything's going along well. Colin's done a great job, you know, in getting the process going. So, but we just need to keep it going and not fall back on anything. And that's my concern is, we wanna keep things going. And when it comes to time that, okay, we say, Colin says, I've done everything I can do, we say thank you, the agreement is over. But we need a new agreement then for a fire marshal. Or a fire inspector, whatever you wanna call it. So does that have to go before council, or can we just, this is just to send a letter?
I think this is just a request for information. There's no commitment being proposed exactly at this point. We're just asking, are you willing and at what cost?
Okay.
I don't see why the committee can't do that.
Well, it's not the cost, it's certainly the number of inspectors as well, because they're gonna be overwhelmed, and we're gonna ask them to help us. But they can't say, we'll do $10,000, that could be 2, it could be 5. But if we have 1,000 of those in this borough, then clearly that
There-
project has to be.
They already know how many we have, and how many need to be inspected, how many they've already done.
Right, and we're
So
gonna
that
ask them to
information-
we're gonna ask them to keep doing it.
Yeah.
We need to know how many they can do, not just how much it's gonna cost.
There was verbiage in the last agreement or whatever, of how many inspections are supposed to be done anyway.
So I will make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. You would kindly draft that letter and send it, John, and maybe we'll hear back. Okay. Anybody have anything else for the fire department?
You
We have one
have
other item
the
on there.
grant.
We were awarded the Office of
Oh,
State
yeah.
Fire Commissioners Grant for 2023 for Wyomissing Borough in the amount of $15,006.77. It's a non-matching grant. It is designated for personal protective equipment, specifically structural turnout gear and ballistic vests. So I'm looking for a motion to accept that grant.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, do we need a roll call on this, or does this have to go to council?
This should go to council.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Melissa, my motion is amended to recommend it to council.
All right, sorry, the dashboard cut off, I'll have to fix that for next month. There were 270 calls for.
Okay, hang on 1 second. Anybody else for the fire department? Anything else? Okay, Antonio.
There were 270 calls for services. The breakdown were 191 transported with no lights and sirens, and 17 of those transported with lights and sirens. And the breakdown of this, and as soon as I get it redone, I'll send it back over to you. The breakdown of it, there were 119 advanced life support calls, 118 basic life support calls, 21 downgraded calls, and 2 additional others. There were 6 Country Meadows Building 1 calls, 19 Country Meadows Building 2 calls, and 34 at the Highlands. We're still at 2 Narcan administrations, and they both were in Spring Township for 2024. Our dispatch to responding time is 1 minute 39 seconds, 10 minutes on scene, 10 minutes 58. To responding on scene, and again, if it's not a true emergency critical, we have to go non-lights and sirens. Our average on scene time is 12 minutes, and as you can see in the breakdown of the other ones, Wyomissing is the 3rd or 4th largest of our. They don't have that one?
Yeah, it looks like when it came over, a lot of information
Oh.
cut off.
Yeah, I will make sure that I get that updated to you. I'm sorry. New process. March 13th, we will be meeting in Rabazonia for the municipal, for the smaller communities, just as we did the bigger ones in spring. I think that's about all. I will be attending meet with Chip Bilger from the Center of Excellence in Lower Hebron and Dan Becker on the 29th out in Elizabethtown with some state officials the EMS and crisis video that I attended down in Washington DC, they're presenting it up there. So we'll have some municipal officials there. We have asked them to see if we could procure it for a viewing that night also, but they have said not at this time, but they are planning on doing something a little later at a theater, a movie theater in the Lancaster area. So more information on that, that'll be open to all municipal officials for them to go view that document.
Is that on Netflix?
Yeah, she's trying, that's why she's holding out. That's why she's holding out.
Anything else for Western Berks? Thank you, Tony. Police Department.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'll try to keep it a short list this week. First, I reached out to the tow companies that are approved to provide towing in the borough. There's currently 4, B&M, Matos, Arts, and KC Auto. I reached out to all to see if they were still interested in maintaining their approval. I heard back only from B&M and Matos. They provided updated information as far as their insurance and rates and things. I also heard from a company called, tow company, Weeks Auto. They're based out of Lancaster, but apparently they have drivers up here that like to be put on the list. So I have heard from those 3 companies. I have all their information, so I'm requesting a motion to send to council that they be the approved tow companies.
So moved. Second.
Motion second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Move it to council.
Next, I received the request for the annual I Am Able Duathlon scheduled for September 22nd, 2024. I told the event organizer that I do have some concerns about it this year, in that I spoke with Jim. Reading Boulevard is apparently being repaid from Squire to Logan, and he thinks it'll be done by that time, but we're not 100% sure, he can't say. And secondly, the sewer project, I guess it's the spring sewer,
The Wyomissing interceptor that is owned by Spring,
that is going
badly named.
to be running through Evans and Old Mill Road. So this event, it's a duathlon, it's a run, bike, run event. Everything starts and ends at Girard and Evans on the high school's parking lot there. But the run goes down Evans, turns onto Old Mill, then goes back Old Mile into the parklands. It then turns around and comes back that same route. They then get on a bike and they're on Reading Boulevard between Lake Avenue and Logan Avenue. I forget how many laps they have to do, but then they get off the bike and they do the running. So there's potential areas within their route that may be unavailable. I did advise the organizer of these concerns that I have. He's asking if we could do it somewhere else in the borough, and I said I don't know that I'm comfortable with that, because the Parklands offers me the ability not to have officers controlling that. This event is a very large event. We're blocking a lot of intersections for the bike route itself along Reading Boulevard, and we have officers down at Old Mill and Evans and Old Mill and Wyo. I set up our command right there, so I drive north and Evans to block that. So I don't know that another route is going to be. I'm going to have the manpower to block what would need to be blocked. So, but I said I would bring it to the committee to see if you would be open to moving it to somewhere else.
I think we need to take the stance, or the approach the same as we did with the activities that involved the stone house. I mean, we don't know, I mean, we could say, yeah, it'll be done, and then bad weather and happens, and, they can't do it. And as you had, mentioned before, Chief, going back to these planners and saying, okay, the whole thing's been changed, that's virtually impossible to do. And I think our prudent position is we welcome this, but it just cannot be done this year.
If he came to you in June 22nd, said, come back and seek approval closer to the date, or does he just need to find a new
I think
place?
they have to find a new place, that's the problem, they wait till then and it's still not able to occur here, then they don't have a whole lot of time to find a place that they can do it, there's advertising and people, so that they know where they're going, and I think it's better for them, quite honestly, that they know right now whether they can or cannot do it here.
So like Penn State versus the place.
Let them know, you know, I mean, that's just my, you know, I entertain a motion, you know,
I'll make a motion in permit this year.
this year, yeah, and I'll second that.
Could I just ask a question? How about Jim? Is he in any, he's obviously saying he's not sure. Is there a point in the future, in the next month, that he can say definitively, I can get it done? Or is he just saying, I can't say that at any time?
I mean, I don't wanna speak for Jim, but I don't, like I said, he believes the Reading Boulevard will be done, but he can't say for sure because of,
We're not
we don't,
administering the sewer project. Spring Township is building a sewer line in Wyomissing Borough.
Well,
We're
all
not-
I'm trying to figure out is there a point, like next week or the following week, that he might be able to say yes or no? Or if he's just saying no now, and I'll never know when.
I don't know that he can because the project hasn't even started yet on Reading Boulevard, I don't.
I
Well, and
asked
that's
him
weather
25 minutes
dependent.
ago,
Street
and
works.
Jim said, I'm saying the same thing I told the chief, you know,
We're doing-
maybe
we're doing
at
a
the end of
favor
June,
saying no at this
but then
point.
the interceptor is another issue.
Right,
And,
that's why I mentioned both.
you know, so, you know, we need to encourage them that, you know, we wanna participate, you know, years moving forward, but we, you know, we have to be responsible this year and just reluctantly say we can't. We have a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Now, this usually would then get approved by council, so do I need to wait until council fully meets to deny it,
Well,
or?
we're not making a recommendation to council to approve it. Why?
That's
Just see what's favorable to the
question,
other
like
things.
you
So,
focus, I mean,
When we
this is-
approve them at council level, it makes sense that we would
Deny
Well,
them.
deny them.
Right,
two,
because we-
3, 4, we got 5 here.
We deny handicap parking at council.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's put it
Yeah.
on the agenda, let's make it a clean action.
I will let him know prior to council that this committee has denied it, but it's going to go to council. The likelihood of it being passed by council is.
That would be, just say we gotta go through formality.
Right, but I would say that it's not very likely that.
Well,
it will pass.
as Bill said, with 5 members of council here.
Right, and that's why I'll say it's not likely. Lastly, you may recall, I spoke to this committee regarding an intergovernmental agreement with the Wilson School District regarding the enforcement of school bus violations. I had said to you at that point that I had some real concerns, as did other chiefs, being that it's a civil matter, and they're actually then, if they're pleading not guilty to it, it's actually a lawsuit against us and things like that. The Commonwealth apparently has made some updates to this law, and this is more of an advisory at this point. The school district again is asking for this to occur based upon the changes in the law. I requested another meeting with all the chiefs. They put out one of the surveys online or of dates that people are available for a meeting. So that meeting has not yet been sent, but it's all early March. So once I get that, I'll maybe discuss then with Chris what they're saying with the law and how it's changed and how it's no longer civil, that type of thing. That may be coming back as a viable option for us to do for the school. And I would bet that if it does happen, and Wilson does it, we'll probably get something at some point down the road from Wyomissing as well.
Do you have any written materials about that?
I have this right now, but, that I got from the school, some changes from the old intergovernmental agreement and things they had crossed out for this new thing, but, like I said, I wanna talk to them. I've looked at the updates online to see the differences, and they have made some changes, and I'll pass all that to you once I have this meeting.
Wasn't it more of a money-making thing at one
Oh,
time, if I
what
recall?
the first thing I looked at with this new law is the way they've rewritten it. There's the section for the school bus violation in the vehicle code, then right after it talks about the violation under these cameras on the buses. And that section used to have a section I would say we would actually cite for on the citation. Well, it doesn't appear to me that there's one there right now. And I don't know if they want you to refer back to the original section, but it still has all the penalties of the license suspension and points and things like that associated with it, where the other one is still, it talks about it's, doesn't go on a driving record, it's a civil fine, things like that. So I don't know how they work this out as to how we're supposed to even cite this, so. Again, this was more of a, you may be hearing about this, and I wanted to make you aware. And there is a up and coming meeting that is in the works. It's not yet scheduled, but it is coming.
Is each school district crafting their own laws?
There's a state law, but the school district has to work with their local police department on the enforcement of the state law. So the agreement that the chief has is about, how that relationship would be set up between Wyomissing Police Department and Wilson School District.
So that's all I had.
Okay, anything else for the police chief? Thank you very much, chief. Okay, with Tom and West Side Emergency Management.
I'll go quickly too. Thursday night is the elected officials meeting, open house or whatever, for those who haven't attended before, to visit our EOC up at the Spring Township Fire Station from about 7 o'clock to about 8 o'clock. I attached on the sheet there, and I don't know, did you want this letter come through to each borough, the one that says we're in compliance for meetings and plans and all that?
This is the first,
Or did that only go to Spring?
no, yeah, this did come in the mail.
It did, okay. Well, I included it here because I didn't know if it did. That we're in compliance with the number of times that I'm at the training. Actually, I'm at more than was required. And, that our plan was in compliance. And that was the only other item on there, and it's been received and reviewed by all the proper people, so that, I attached that, but if we have our own, that's okay. I'm asking this question, did they finish setting up our new plug-in thing here on the?
I was gonna tell you after the meeting, you should be good to set up your test,
Try it sometime?
Yep.
Okay. Is it back
right
here?
there. Yep.
Okay. All right, just checking, because you had said at one time it might be under the table.
The
with
switch is under here, but it's still there.
Okay, all right, good. And I do want to mention the fact that, thanks to Jana, I got to talk to Chris Hunsinger, who's kind of Scott Gould's, I guess, a partner, in hazardous materials with Norfolk Southern. He was visiting with her and her husband last weekend, and invited me down to talk to him and actually meet him, and that was good for a face-to-face. We had a little discussion about what goes on here locally as well as other places, so that was kind of a nice thing. I've met Scott and know Scott more, but now that I know Chris, we've got people who we can easily contact and get information if we need it for any of that railroad business, at least with hazardous stuff anyway. It's a good contact. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Any questions for Tom? Okay, hearing none. We don't have anything, we do. Okay. Okay, at this time, we're going to adjourn into executive sessions. Are we gonna have any actions?
I don't,
Take?
no.
There be no action to be taken.